All right. Hey, welcome to the April. It's not April. Oh my gosh, it's June. It's June. How do we get to June? To the June 4th edition of Living Courageously Exposed. That's how I feel like.
Your
And
time warp.
today I feel like I'm living courageously exposed because I feel a little discombobulated in my thoughts because I have just a lot of stuff like good stuff to bring to you, good stuff to bring to me. I'm excited to talk with Karen. We've been having a little chat about what we're going to talk with you about today. And so I want to welcome our guest, Karen Sammer, once again. And because I feel the way I feel, let's start how we always start with just even 60 seconds of just breathing deeper than you normally do. You can put your hand on your heart. Feel free to close your eyes or take a downward gaze if that's something that helps let go of the distractions. Let's just take a moment to breathe in through your nose. Breathe all the way down into your sit bones. Hold it a little longer than normal. And then let it go. And just feel. All right. Yeah, you can adjust it however it needs. Um, so if you're new to Living Courageously Exposed, this is a broadcast, podcast, vlogcast, whatever you want to call it, where we basically kick open the door of being human and we normalize the act of being human and experiencing the full range of human emotions and things that we go through without necessarily saying there's a problem with you. We just normalize humanness and give you the opportunity to live your highest and best authentic life. So with that, I'm at trust. Trust.
Trust.
What about
You
trust?
talk a lot about trusting yourself and not outsourcing.
Thanks for the reminder. No, I I said it that way because one day I'm going to tell you a quick story before we get going. When I was fairly new in knowing Leah, we were driving down this long desert highway here in Idaho, and we're having this beautiful conversation. And she said, you should talk on trust. It would really be good for you to put it out there that you speak on trust. And I, driving down the road, said, who talks about trust?
Exactly
I
like
said it
that.
pretty much like that. And and so it's been really interesting to observe what has taken place since that drive 2 years ago now. And how often trust comes into play and how important it is for myself to trust myself, to learn how to bring that trust back into myself versus all of the other places that I was taught and instructed to give my trust to. And it's one of the things I absolutely love about what we get to do here at Righteous Rebels and Creative Unraveling is allowing you and reminding you that you can trust yourself and that you've got to trust yourself first and foremost.
I think it's a beautiful segue to what we're going to be talking with Karen about today, and trusting yourself and your body, and listening to the little messages that your body's trying to say, but we've been overriding that in so many different
Oh
ways.
man, have we ever? Have we ever? Especially when it comes to our health. Leah and I were having a discussion earlier today, um, just about how, as human beings, we have this beautiful tendency to reach outside of ourselves for answers, to go to other people who we think have the answers for us, when the reality is they may have some experience that we haven't had yet, or had it in a way that we haven't experienced it that can provide different perspective, or they may have a tool that we haven't acquired yet, or maybe we have acquired it and we're not really skilled at how to use it yet. And so it's just fascinating. We're having this conversation of how easy and how, what's the word, indoctrinated. I'm going to use the word indoctrinated we are to go outside of ourselves for our answers, when in reality, we have all the answers we need. Everything we need is inside of ourselves. I'm not sure why you're laughing, but it's okay. I'll ask you in just a second. We were talking about um, kids and language, and like, have you observed a child who's learning language? They don't ask you. They don't say, "Hey, did I do that right? Did I say that right? Did I say that word right?" Because we were talking about my grandson, who on a phone call a few days ago said, "Maga, you come to we house?" Like, it's the damn cutest thing. And the reality is, we don't want to, I don't want to correct that right now because it's so cute, but he on his own will figure it out through listening to language, and he will probably have adults who say, this is the proper way to say that. But how,
Or just even
through
just
example,
hearing
yeah,
that.
intrinsically we have all the answers. And so, um, what were you going to say? Like, what were you?
No, I was just giggling like that. Oh my gosh, we have all these answers already. We already know, like we can trust ourselves. Like what a concept when we're taught to go outside. I was
Yeah,
just kind of still giggling at that.
yeah. Do you know that you can trust yourself?
I think we're really taught not to trust ourselves, and we're taught for quick answers, especially around weight and body image and what the ideal is supposed to look like, how we feel about ourselves. Like I grew up with my mom. She, I adore my mom, and she did the best she could, but she had a lot of hang-ups around body image and looking a certain way, and very restrictive eating. She would put up pictures on the fridge of like supermodels and like Victoria's Secret kind of deals. And and as a kid, I was sick a lot and had several kinds of medications, prednisone, and I gained a lot of weight as a kid. And so I was constantly put on diets and weighed, and just the shame that came with that. And it's taken me most of my life to get to a point where I can actually be okay and start listening to my body.
I love it. And I love that we have people in our sphere who we can bring on to talk about these kinds of things. So we've interviewed Karen, the Sugar Freedom Coach, before. She has, I think we talked about your book, um, Crush
Craving,
Cravings Before They Crush
diabetes,
Diabetes, Before Diabetes. Oh my gosh.
crush craving,
Say the title.
crush cravings before diabetes crushes you.
That one right there. Um, and so we didn't really talk about this depth of knowledge that she has when it comes to being a sugar freedom coach. We kind of talked a little bit about how she got there, and just her story, because we want you to know the people behind what they do, and give a little more just personality and character to why they can serve you well. And so I wanted to bring Karen back on to talk about the GLP-1s. I said it right, only because I have it written down. I love to mess that acronym up, and it has a very long name. I'm going to let her say it too. So Karen, welcome back. Before you jump into everything, tell us about your thoughts on trust, and because I know it's going to have a lot to do with what we're going to talk about today.
I think thank you, first of all, for inviting me back.
Oh, you're
Good to see you
welcome.
both. Good to see you both again and together. This is really nice. So trust. Yeah, you brought up a lot for me when you started talking about that, because I was brought up Catholic,
Oh,
and all of the baggage that goes along with that. I am no
yes.
longer Catholic for various
Yes.
reasons, but we won't go into.
I hear
But
you. We can talk about that on another day, because
absolutely, well,
same
we
thing
could.
in my own upbringing.
Yeah. So you were not supposed to trust you because you're a fallible human being. You were supposed to put your trust in some esoteric
Okay,
whatever.
that piece right there. We were having this discussion of how we were taught that the natural man is an enemy to God. I don't, I don't believe that anymore. Keep going.
Why were we put here? Like there's God doesn't make mistakes. Um, I do trust God. I have a belief in the universe, God, something bigger than me. but I also have to trust me to use the innate wisdom that I was given by whatever that source is,
Yes.
right? And so listening to my own body to do what it wants, what it needs for me to do. And but to Leah's point before, we override those messages all the time because we don't trust ourselves. We don't believe that what we're hearing ourselves say. And so it's really important that that we get back to that. We have to get back to that intuition, that we're very intuitive beings. And we
Very.
have to we can intuit what we need if we allow ourselves to do that. But there's so much, so much noise bombarding us all the
Yes.
time.
I was gonna say, how have you learned? So what was the that's a big question. What was a place for you where you realized that you needed to, and maybe you didn't realize it on your own, maybe something had happened that you had to get more quiet and block out some of that noise and come inside? Like what was one of those points for you, and what was your process of coming back into yourself to hear your voice and to trust it, so then you can do now these things that you're doing now?
I can tell you exactly what it was. I had breast cancer, and it was aggressive, and it was going to kill me. It wanted to kill me. And I wasn't having that. So I had two kids that I was still raising. They were teenage girls, and they needed me here. So I had to do something because prior to the cancer diagnosis, I was living fat, dumb, and happy. Quite honestly, I was hugely overweight. All my numbers were looking bad, including my blood sugar. I was pre-diabetic,
Sure.
and so all of and I was paying no attention. I knew all of this, and I was paying no attention. I was just merrily going along my way until the breast cancer diagnosis. So that was kind of we call it a come to Jesus moment. It
Right.
was where I was just, I had gotten those subtle little nudges about my health because I wasn't sleeping well. I was having panic attacks during the night. I was horrible hot flashes. I was right in the beginning of menopause,
Okay.
and having like waking up drenched in sweat, all of the things that go along with that. And of course, every problem I ever had in my entire life was racing before my eyes at 3 o'clock in the morning. So wasn't sleeping well. And but I still wasn't paying attention. I still wasn't, like, these were all symptoms or signs that I needed to do something, and I did nothing until the
Okay.
cancer.
Okay, so that right there, like, what are your thoughts on why you think we don't pay attention? Like when there's all of this stuff that's going on that we know isn't, I mean, it's natural and normal processes of aging and the body saying, whoa, well, hey, why in your opinion, do you think we don't pay attention to that until there's that just like wham moment?
Many reasons. We have so many competing priorities in our lives. We overbusy ourselves. I had a full-time career. I was managing many people. I had the kids I had to deal with. I was, running a household. I was the primary breadwinner in my family. And so all of these things, there was a lot of stuff that was pulling at me. So I put myself at the bottom, or my health at the bottom of the list. It was easier to go along with the status quo, right? Just keep doing what I was doing, because staying in that habit pattern is a lot easier than breaking out of it. You develop inertia or momentum, whatever you want to call it, where you're just going along, going along, going along. To break out of that requires a little propulsion. And I
Yeah.
wasn't interested, right? But then I hit the wall. When I got that diagnosis, I hit that literal wall and had to do something. And I had lots of time on my hands because I was very sick. And
Yeah.
so I couldn't do much, couldn't sleep very well, because they also put us on steroids. Part of the protocol was steroids. So I didn't sleep very well. And so I had lots of time to think. And so I decided that this clearly wasn't working. What I was doing wasn't working. And if I wanted to be here to raise my kids, I had to make some serious changes. And so I did. And I started to listen to what my body needed. If I needed to sleep, I slept, or tried to, I rested.
Yeah.
If I needed to, but I would eat, like I would only eat stuff that was nourishing for me. But I was, part of it was a little easier for me to give up stuff that like sugar or sugary sweets because nothing tasted good. Everything, and when you're in, chemo causes you to have a metallic taste in your mouth,
Yeah,
and
I've heard.
nothing was interesting to me. So it made it a little bit easier to get over that addiction part. But I found that when I ate food that was healthy and nourishing and fresh and the way it was meant to be eaten, I felt so much better.
Right.
And so I started, like that really felt good to me. And I felt more alert. I felt more energized. I felt my aches and pains went away. All of the things, like I just felt like I was giving myself what I needed to give myself.
Yeah.
And the more I did that, the better I felt, the more I wanted to feel even better still. Right. So with
And,
that,
and
when I
nourish it
felt
in a
that,
different direction.
yes, that's what propelled me into the right direction.
Okay, so I have a question that you talked about um, allowing yourself to sleep or rest when needed. Will you, in your opinion, like what is we talk about rest all the time and like taking a nap, and sometimes like for myself, I think they're delicious. Um, Sometimes my body actually just calls for them, demands for it. Others I'm like, I could use it just a little top off. But sometimes I don't necessarily fall asleep. So give us your thought. What's the question? The difference between sleep and rest and why both are beneficial. Like, what is rest that's not sleep?
So for me, I can tell you what my experience is. I don't, so I love a nap. I love a nap. But there are times when I feel like if I take a nap, I may wake up groggy and I don't want to
Yeah.
do that. So what rest to me is then I can sit quietly and I can visualize. I love to visualize.
Okay.
So I'll sit quietly in a comfortable chair by myself, nothing around me, and I'll just close my eyes and I'll think about like what do I want this particular event in my future to look like. And I will picture it and I will try to really put myself in the situation. And I do that for a little while and that kind of downregulates my nervous system because it gets me not excited, like excited as in revved up, but just kind of anticipatory or um, optimistic about this particular event. And so when I do that, I feel like that relaxes me because I feel gives me more confidence that whatever this thing is that I'm looking forward to is going to happen the way I expect it to. And so I think that for me, that is a relaxation technique. Or just there's a lot of wildlife in my yard. I can hear like if you watch my morning minutes, there's all kinds of birds
Yeah.
singing and
Yeah.
stuff. So we have a hammock, and now that the weather's warmer, set up a hammock out in the yard, and I'll just lie there in the hammock for a little while and listen to the critters in the yard do their thing, and that's really nice. And just feeling the breeze over my face, all of those
Right.
things, all of these natural things.
So what are your thoughts? Like, I have so many thoughts and things to say about this, especially to people who don't really believe in naps and resting, and they feel like it's not, they're in that still go, go, go mentality, and they have to just, grind, 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 because they're trying to achieve and they're trying to climb ladders and they're trying to be somebody without recognizing they already are. What are your thoughts that way? That's how I feel about rest and play. Like, to me, those things are more important than some of the work things, and that work is actually done better when we do them. But what would you say to the person listening, who's like, yeah, but I don't have time for it. I don't want to, all the stuff that goes on.
There's a saying, I want to say it came from like the Dalai Lama or somebody, that the person who doesn't, and I'm paraphrasing, but the person who doesn't have time to take care of their health will be forced to make time to take care of their illness. And so the person who is grinding away because they think that they'll sleep when they're dead. I've heard that story many times. I'll
Right,
sleep when I'm dead.
right,
That's going to come a lot sooner if you don't sleep now, because sleeping is one of the key components to a healthy life.
right.
Right. So you are not doing yourself or your employer or whoever you're serving any favors by depriving yourself of much needed sleep and rest and thinking that grinding along is going to be a good thing, because your work product is going to suffer. your concentration, you're going to make more mistakes. There have been studies done where people who are sleep deprived and get behind the wheel of a car are actually more dangerous than somebody who's consumed alcohol.
Wow.
And yeah, I mean, there have been, people fall asleep. I've been in situations where I've been driving and feel like I have fallen asleep for just for a second,
I
and it's
have.
just a crap out of me. Oh, that is terrifying to me.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it's just so it's such a fallacy that you are more productive if you allow yourself to just keep pushing, pushing, pushing and not getting yourself any sleep. Your body requires sleep. It requires rest. It requires rejuvenation. You are setting yourself up for chronic illness. You're setting yourself up for cancer. You're setting yourself up for all sorts of things if you don't allow your body to rest and restore and repair itself overnight. You have to sleep to repair. Your repairing doesn't happen while you're running around doing whatever grinding you're doing.
Yeah,
It doesn't happen until you let your body do that.
yeah, I appreciate you saying that. As you're talking, I'm thinking about an episode. We're currently watching The Extraordinary. I don't watch TV, but on occasion I like to, do a little Netflix, and we watch a series, and we're watching one about the Extraordinary Attorney Wu.
Oh,
I would highly recommend watching it, actually. But last night we watched one on the episode was basically about running kids.
Oh,
And it's based in Korea, running kids from dusk till dawn, dawn till dusk, and beyond, and talked about how it messes with their health, it messes with their growth, it messes with their happiness. And those are the three things they talked about: happy now, play now. Anyway, it just brought that to mind, as well as in my healthy now, personal training studies. Like when you're training clients, especially those who are building for muscle and competitions, you actually build sleep and rest into a program, because the body has to have it.
Yeah, it has to repair, or else it's just going to break down.
Yeah.
And to your point about the kids, I mean, we have such a horrible mental health problem in the Western Hemisphere. It's awful. But what you're doing when you are overscheduling your children, you're not allowing them to have independent play, independent thought, independent whatever. They are not. You are depriving them of their ability to learn how to function in the world without you, because you're writing this. You are taking them from home to school to sports to blah 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 whatever, and until they go to sleep, they fall asleep from exhaustion at night. But they have no downtime. They need downtime. Their brains need downtime as part of their development.
Right.
And
We're
I know
teaching
some
them to override their systems,
yeah,
their
exactly.
natural abilities to trust.
Yeah, to trust their own body, or trust their own ability to make a decision. If you're making all the decisions for them, I mean, kids have so little autonomy anyway.
Right.
Give them some, give them somewhere it's safe to do so, and allow them to make a decision, and allow them to make a mistake, and allow them to kind of figure things out. Because if you don't, when they become adults, who are they going to turn to? Because you ain't going to be around forever.
Right.
And they need to be able to.
We're seeking, coaches, or the next, enticing advertisement, or, that leads us down this path of like, I don't know how to trust my body. I don't know how to lose this weight. So I'm going to take this GLP-1 because it's going to do it for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. I won't have to make the decision. Right. I mean, that's so the medications you're talking about.
Your decision making, your thought process, your feeling.
Yeah. That was a really nice segue.
You're smooth, Leah.
She's like, hello, you have it written down on the paper.
I do have a question before we go on, because your comment of what was it, happy, dumb, and fat or something?
Yeah.
Fat, dumb, and happy, yeah. That was me.
I really have a tug with that, because there's been people that I've come across that say, I'm happy being this size, and it is just what it is. And I have trouble with that, because I've had my own weight gains, and with perimenopause and just shifting body, and that's been challenging for me. And it's not like excessive, like it's a few pounds, but it's, I can't imagine holding a lot of extra weight and like joint pain and movement and just how clothes feel on you and like my own body discomfort with that. Like, how is that just what you say to yourself? Like that I'm
Yes.
just happy this way? Like you gaslight yourself? Like,
Yes.
is that
Yes.
like a fear thing?
It's well, so when I say I was fat, dumb, and happy, I was moving along in life. I wasn't making changes. I was kind of happy with the status quo. As in, I didn't have to make any decisions about things. I ate out of the candy dish whenever I went by it, at the secretary's desk or whatever I did. So I was living in rote, like by rote. I was living in habit, just
Yeah.
habitually, my habitual behavior. So I was not comfortable. I was not happy with the way I looked and the way I felt. I was not sleeping well. I had aches and pains. My back hurt, my knees hurt, my feet hurt, all of the things, everything hurt, all my joints hurt. And plus, like I said, I'd have these unexpected, horrible hot flashes. I'd have a sip of wine, literally a sip of wine, and all of a sudden it was like a waterfall coming out of
Oh,
and I'd be in a public situation. I'd be at a cocktail party at work or something, and I'd be
wow.
drenched in sweat. At the time, I had some hair. I had longer, before I had cancer, I actually had some hair, and like my hair would be stuck to my. It was awful. It was awful. So I was not happy feeling the way I felt. I was very uncomfortable. I felt very conspicuous, because I was usually the largest person in the room. I
Yeah.
felt very clumsy. I was worried about where I was going to, if I could fit into certain situations, or live physically fit, not metaphorically,
Yeah.
physically fit into a situation. Um, and when I was up, like in an airplane, for instance.
I just thought that like airplanes,
Yeah,
that's an
exactly.
issue for some people.
Yeah, that is a very difficult thing to deal with when you worry about whether you're going to fit between the armrests. The worst kind of armrests they have are the ones that aren't movable.
No, yeah.
Because some planes, I don't know what airlines, but some airlines have the straight armrest there that keeps you separated completely from the seat next to you. That's very difficult to fit into when your ass is, so um it's really, these are things that you have to consider. It is not a happy place to be. Some people have themselves convinced, this one of the worst things that we have ever gotten into is the body positivity movement. I am all about love the body that you're in, because if you don't love it, you're not going to take care of it.
Well,
So
you have to love it in
yeah,
order to and accept where you're at. Like I
yeah,
created this.
yeah,
Now, in my opinion, it's the I created this,
I
accept
can change it.
I don't yep, and now it's time to create something different.
Exactly. And that, what, when it's, I can't do anything about this, you have just abdicated all your power. You
Yeah.
have the power to make the changes. And admitting that you created this empowers you to be able to do something about it. If
Okay,
you,
so I think that leads kind of into a question that I have. Like, I know we have this acronym down here that we want to get into, but I'm fine. I feel like this part of the conversation is important too, because once those changes are made, my question is listening to you is how do you, um, I know how I go about assisting people to do that. And we just kind of alluded to it by way of, I created this, I can
Mhm.
create something different. Because often we see that people who go through big body changes, whether it's uh, okay, often just it's weight loss, it's loss of all of the excess and whatnot. But if they don't have this straight and they don't have their heart straight, that shit comes back. So
Yeah,
how do you go about and how do you coach your people to adapt to the changes of this is who I am now. That's who I was. I'm no longer that. So
right.
that they don't automatically go back and fill that space.
Are you talking about like when they've lost weight, but they still see themselves as a
Yeah.
bigger person?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's not it. That's dysmorphia. That's a little different, body dysmorphia. But what about the person who loses the weight and now feels naked? Because that's the way I felt. I felt naked to the word. because that was
Exposed.
my, yeah, exactly. That was my winter coat. That was my suit of armor. That was, there, I mean, we could go into the psychology, but we don't have time for that. But the, that was my protection from the world. You weren't going to, I wasn't vulnerable to somebody stealing me for sure. I wasn't vulnerable to somebody. I guess I could be robbed because I couldn't run after them or something. But I was a pretty imposing figure in the world and not somebody that was easy to manipulate physically. And so when that went away, I felt tiny in the world. And it was,
That's fascinating. I haven't, like, I'm aware of that. I've talked with people about that. I've not heard it put quite in that way of in order to take up space, you had to feel like you had to be big to take up space, if I'm hearing correctly, and that
yeah,
teaching people that they can take up space with their personality and their energy without it being a physical, that was, I really, that that just kind of struck me. I appreciate you saying that.
well, thank you. But it was, so it's, I, it was a result.
Hold on, it's freezing out, Sharon. I don't know if you can hear us. You're frozen.
Shoot.
Oh,
Okay, now
okay.
there you are.
Am I here?
Yeah, we need to
You
start
can hear
that
me now?
again. You had a
Yeah.
beautiful
The internet is unstable. I just got the internet is unstable. I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Hopefully it'll hold up.
It happens over here too. No worries.
Um, so I was starting to say that I gained my confidence after I lost the weight. But it wasn't because of the weight loss. The confidence came when I decided what I wanted to do with the rest of my life, what I wanted to do when I grew up. Because my old career, I always felt like I was a round peg in a square hole, or the other way around, a square peg in a round hole. I was I was with people who were attorneys and who would be very happy to prove to you that you were wrong every time you opened your mouth if they wanted to do so. And so that was a little intimidating. And that career, I had that career for 30 some years.
Oh,
Yeah. So when I started to go towards coaching, when I started my coaching, even before I left my former position, I retired from my day job. Once I started coaching, I felt like I had found myself a home. It was just I just felt like the angels started this thing. It was really an amazing thing for me. It was what I needed to do. So I did I went to school for it while I was still working, and I started my coaching practice while I was still working in my day job. And that is where my confidence just went through the roof when I did that. So when you find that place in the world that you're supposed to be, I think it just makes such a difference.
okay. So let me just make this really clear to the people who are listening what I just heard you say, because I'm a full-on believer of this too. Being skinny does not make you confident. Being in a smaller body does not make you confident. It doesn't make you fun. It doesn't make you happy. It doesn't make you any of those things. It just means you're in a smaller body. Confidence came when you started to figure out, oh, come inside and figure out what actually makes you happy in your humanness. Did I hear that correctly?
You did hear that correctly.
Okay,
Yes.
just check.
That's the only thing losing the weight well, not the only thing. I mean, one of the main things that losing the weight does is it makes you maybe healthier and puts you in a smaller size.
Yeah,
Makes it
well,
easier for
and
you
you
to off the
feel
rest.
better. You feel
Yeah,
better.
you do
Like,
feel physically, you feel better. Yes, you do feel
and
better. Yeah.
mentally,
So,
emotionally, you've got to feel better, which then
yeah,
again starts that snowball and inertia in other directions, but you
yeah,
have to still choose it.
yeah, exactly. And the losing the weight does give you the confidence to maybe try something different that you would not have done before
Yeah.
physically. When I lost the weight, I before I found out a few things, I decided to do one of the big walks. I did a 60-mile breast cancer walk and over 3 days. And
Dang.
and I took that on. So when I was going through chemo, so I was for 6 months, I was pretty down and out. And when I was going through chemo, I could barely walk down my driveway. And so I decided that I needed to do something to strengthen myself. So I started training for this walk. And the following year, I think it was the following year, in like September. So it was maybe 9 months after I started training. I did the 60-mile walk in Philadelphia, and it was an incredible experience. There's all a bunch of there were a bunch of survivors, a bunch of people supporters, and it was just an interesting experience. Then I no longer support the organization for various reasons, but I did. Yeah, I made $11,000 for them, which was huge for that.
That's awesome.
That was just from people that I knew donating and them getting matching gifts from their employers.
Wow.
So that was it. That also built my confidence because I knew I could do hard things, right? Glennon Doyle, I could do hard things. Uh, so but the confidence truly just went crazy when I realized that coaching is what I needed to do. Because once I started to feel really good in my body, I wanted to help other people do the same thing. And that's when I started to explore the opportunity, the possibility of going to school for it and learning how to do it legitimately rather than just, spewing my advice all over people.
Yeah, sure. So
As I
I love that. And I think that's a really good lead into like and good background to what we want to talk about today, which is really it's big in culture right now. I feel like it's a bit buzzy, and there's a popularity thing to it. Lots of people are doing it, and I believe, in my opinion, they're doing it very unhealthily. And that's the GLP-1 stuff, and which is part of what you do inside of your being a sugar freedom coach. And so will you share with us, one, what that long word to this little acronym is, and then just kind of share, I'm just going to let you kind of just share your knowledge, like what it is, what it does, why you think it's good. It is something we make naturally, that we do naturally, and then as we have questions, we'll just pop in and ask them.
Okay, so GLP-1 is glucagon-like peptide 1. And that is a substance that is produced in your intestine, and it is produced by L cells. I think they're called L cells. And it's whatever information that you need to know about that. But first of all, let's just straighten out that I am not a doctor. Okay, I don't give medical advice. I don't prescribe. This is my experience and my opinions and my information from what I've researched.
Perfect.
So you got this substance that is produced in your intestines. It helps to, among many things, it helps to regulate your appetite. It helps you to stay fuller longer. It helps you to slow down the release of to the digestion of your food, so that it's not moving out of your stomach as quickly as it might otherwise. And it helps you to regulate your blood sugar. It helps to protect your health or your heart. It helps to protect your brain. And if your body's working properly, it is produced naturally in your body.
Okay, so really quickly, you said something about food moving through the system too quickly. So if we're not creating naturally enough of the GLP-1, then our food has the possibility to move through quicker than is ideal for absorption of
nutrient.
Okay.
Nutrient. Yeah. And especially, so there are a number of things that destroy your own GLP-1. Stress.
What?
Yeah. Medications.
What?
Natural aging. Eating the foods that are very prevalent in our society, the ultra-processed foods, the quick fixes, all of those things. That I say medication, other chemicals that are in our soil, in our water, in our food, chemicals that we are taking in otherwise. All of these things impact our ability to produce our own GLP-1. Our gut health is huge. If our gut is out of balance, our gut, they're finding more and more information about how that is your second brain.
Right.
And the more out of balance that bacteria, that microbiome is, the more likely your body's going to be negatively impacted in very many ways. But specifically around GLP-1, it helps to keep your GLP-1 production vibrant. if it's working properly. If your gut is out of balance, it also could help to destroy your GLP-1.
Gotcha.
So the big buzz now is these medications that are on the market. And let me start out by saying that there is a specific market for which those medications is appropriate. That there are people who need those medications at least as a jump start to get them on the right path.
Right.
They're morbidly obese and their life is critically in danger. Then maybe that is the answer for them, at least temporarily. But the person who needs to lose 20 pounds because they want to look good in their wedding dress, that's a little different. And it might not be an appropriate use for the drug. But yet there are people who are doing it. There are people who are taking these medications who shouldn't, probably. And it's not for me to say who should and should not be taking it, but they're readily available to people, who may not necessarily need them.
Right. Right.
And what they do is that they stop the production of your own GLP-1. So even if you had GLP-1 production, or if you had low GLP-1 production, this shuts it down. So
you're saying the medications actually override our ability to create our own.
That's correct.
Okay.
And it replaces it.
Okay.
Because essentially what your body is seeing is it's seeing this replacement saying, I don't need to do this. I got this other stuff. That's great.
I mean, our bodies are efficient. They're going to
use its energy elsewhere.
Yep. There you go.
Yeah. And so you're taking this medication and you're losing weight like crazy, also losing muscle, also losing all kinds of stuff. And you shut down your own GLP-1 production. And now you're going to try to go off this medication, even when you wean yourself off of it, because that's what you're supposed to do. You're not supposed to go cold turkey.
Okay.
You wean yourself off this medication. Your GLP-1 is asleep. It's not working. And some people's never come back. So what happens is they gain the weight back. They gain it back. But not only do they gain the weight back, now their muscle has wasted, right, because they took this medication. So now it's coming back as fat, more fat than you had before. You had the fat cells that you had before, plus you're making new fat cells. And so where your weight distribution might have been a little different with, a muscle to fat ratio, it's going to be a lot higher on the fat side the second time around. And it makes it more difficult because muscle weighs more than fat.
Right.
But you need fewer. What's that?
It also takes up less space.
Muscle does, yes, because it's denser. It's denser than fat. But muscle needs more calories. It requires more calories to be maintained than fat does. So if you're consuming enough calories to maintain the muscle mass that you had before, but you don't have that muscle mass anymore, you're just feeding those fat cells. Those fat cells don't require as many calories, but you're eating enough to sustain the body that you had before. You're going to just keep going up and up and up.
Well, there's also the energy use, like muscle uses more energy to maintain itself than fat does. And so it's just a crazy, beautiful cycle that gets so thrown out of whack.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Your body is meant to stay alive. That is its job on this planet, is to stay alive. And so when you give it the tools that it needs, the proper tools that it needs to either activate the systems that you currently have that are not working so well, or you're feeding the systems that are working well so that they're continuing to work well with the right nutrients, with the right lifestyle choices, like getting enough sleep, drinking enough water, getting out and exercising, getting fresh air, getting sunshine, vitamin D, making sure you manage your stress, all of these things, keeping yourself in a community of people that are supportive of you and you are supportive of them, being of service to the world, because your altruistic behavior gives you purpose in this world. So it makes life more worth living for you, and makes it worth it more for you to maintain this vessel so that you can continue to do your work in the world. But it's just all of these things, you need to be able to do them in order to live a fulfilled life. But if you're shutting down the systems that you have, if you unnaturally shut down the systems that you have, like for instance, if you have to take a heavy course of antibiotics for some godforsaken disease, that will destroy your microbiome. Okay. And that will take you years to get that back in balance. And so that can cause all kinds of weight problems too. But then you add on to the top of it something that's going to shut down like your GLP-1 production or something like that. You're going to have other issues. It's just if you don't support the systems that your body naturally has, and you use a chemical substitute, that doesn't often go well long term.
Yeah.
And I don't know that they really know what the long term impact of these drugs is yet, because these drugs were originally developed to be diabetes drugs.
They were created for diabetic.
Yes.
I find it fascinating how many things were created for those in a diabetic circumstance or in the diabetic field, and that we've taken them out for cosmetic or
Quick fix.
yeah.
Quick fix.
Yeah, quick fix, yeah. Now it's, I know people who are on these GLP-1 drugs, and in some cases I say it absolutely is necessary. If they've got chronic illness that they have to take medication for, that makes it almost impossible to lose weight. Yeah, I have a friend who has MS. She's on a cocktail of medications, makes it very difficult for her to exercise. MS makes it difficult for her to exercise because she can't get her body heat up.
Right.
It makes it, her body is, got various issues because of the MS. And she's taking these medications that keep her from being able to lose weight. Now she's an appropriate candidate for these drugs. I would say that and she knows that she has to be on it for life. Because if you're not on it for life, you're going to gain the weight back.
Right.
Because you've already eliminated that aspect of your body's ability to do things. So in a case like that, I would say it is necessary. In a case where you have a person who's been traumatized in their life, or they've had and that's caused them to hold on to the weight, or they've got psychological issues that they haven't addressed, they've got mental health issues that they haven't addressed, then get to the underlying root of that problem. Find out what it is, or maybe find out how to overcome the impact of those issues that is requiring you or is making you feel like you need to eat and keep yourself safe with the food. But getting to the root cause rather than just masking it with some kind of drug that's going to allow you to, lose weight. But great. Okay. So you're going to either be stuck on this drug for the rest of your life, or when it becomes prohibitively expensive, because now they're looking at the, because there are two ways to get it, or at least two that I know of. You can get it as a drug from your regular pharmacy, a prescription drug, or you can get it from a compounding pharmacy. And the compounding pharmacies, I think that the formulation is probably not as closely regulated, because they're starting to look at that now. And it may be that the compounders are not going to be allowed to do their job.
I have a friend who's a pharmacist, and they compound one of these. And she talks about the types of regulations and things that they have to go through in order to be able to compound it.
Okay.
And I do think she was saying something about that they try to be super mindful. I mean, they don't want to hurt people.
Yeah, of course.
But I think she was saying something about that some of that's going to have to change for them.
Yeah. Yes, they are looking closely at these. These things are so widely prescribed that I think that they now want to tighten up on it, because and the thing is that a lot of people can't get it through insurance, and it's prohibitively expensive, I think.
It's so expensive.
Yeah.
So what about these I had a question. What about people who are on it, who have taken one of these medications, and they decide they don't want to be on it anymore for whatever the reason? Maybe they've reached their goal, or maybe they're sick now, or anything in between. And now their body's not producing its own. How do you coach your clients, or what do you recommend to people who are now on this other side of taking these things and moving forward healthily, and I'm going to say rebuilding health in their worlds?
Excuse me. Sorry. So if I have a client, excuse me, who's been on a drug like that and is trying to come off, I do have a way for them to move into another modality, if you will.
Okay.
I'm sorry,
I
too
know it
much.
just gets us all choked up, huh? We like love
Yeah,
helping people with their health.
that's right. Exactly. So what I would suggest that they do is I have a product that I use actually that helps them to activate their own body's ability to produce GLP-1. Doesn't happen right away, especially if you've shut it down. But taking this product over several months can help you to lay the groundwork so that your body is able to produce its own GLP-1. I can't believe my voice. Produce its own GLP-1 and um, helps you. And then on top of that, I help them to eat the foods that will also support their own production of GLP-1. And there are certain foods that are more beneficial in that area than others. And so,
Absolutely.
yeah. So that's what I would do. And really, when you're on those medications, if you're not changing your lifestyle, if you're not changing the foods that you're eating, the foods that got you into that position in the first place, if you're not changing your exercise habits, whether you didn't exercise at all, or you were not exercising enough, whatever it is, if you're not getting enough sleep, if you're not drinking enough water, if you're not getting, all of the things, if you're not doing any of that stuff, and all you're doing is taking this drug, okay, that's great. You're going to lose the weight. You're going to have no muscle mass. You're going to be a fat, thin person. So you're still not going to have the health that you were hoping for. So you still have to make the changes.
Okay, question. Do you think I'm like, I don't believe people are looking for help. The
You don't
majority.
say
I
again?
don't believe most people taking these products are looking for help. That's my personal opinion. I know that's probably going to piss off a lot of people, but let's be real. Most people taking these products are not looking for help. They are looking for aesthetics and to be thin and to fit in and do that. That's a really bold statement. And
I agree with you.
I think as a coach and as someone who is trying to help people, wanting to help people live a life, like it feels like what we were talking about earlier, like we're trying to convince ourselves that we're doing something good for ourselves. Right? And I'm not saying that it doesn't bring some good things, but we're gaslighting about why we're actually doing it.
Oh,
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Your statement just was like, oh, you want to talk truth? Let's talk truth.
I'm with you. I there are people who need to lose, who are critically ill because of their weight.
100%, absolutely agree.
And so they are, and they probably are the right candidates for this stuff.
Absolutely.
But many of the people who are taking it are doing it so they can fit into the wedding dress or whatever. They can look good in whatever it is. However, if you've ever seen evidence of what they call an Ozempic body, have you ever seen it? Yeah.
Yes.
It just looks, I mean, I can point to a couple of celebrities because they're the ones that started this trend. Who they just look like, I don't know, out of proportion or something. And to me, it's very clear that they likely used one of those medications, and they probably never did. They probably didn't need to lose an ounce of weight on their bodies, but they need to look a certain way for the camera. But
so what about like I don't want to say it's addictive because I don't know that by way of the drug itself, but the addictive nature that we find that people can find themselves in, any of us, with anything that we do really, but especially when it's coming to what we look like and the addictive nature of knowing like, okay, I've reached a spot that I actually physically look good. My weight is down. But I think I'm just going to go a little bit farther. And then I'm going to go a little bit like I see people who are literal walking they they don't look
skeletons
good
with
anymore.
skin.
So
Yeah.
they go beyond looking good. Looking good.
Well, Sharon Osbourne is somebody who had that problem. You know, Ozzy Osbourne's wife,
Okay.
she couldn't stop losing weight. So that was the side effect of the medication for her. She's the only one that I've heard of. I mean, I'm sure there are others that have had the same problem, but she's the only one I've heard of who can't stop losing the weight after she went off the drugs. Now she can't keep her body weight up. But
Have you had clients that you've worked with who have gone on the other side of the scale that way? And how do you, if so, how, what do you
yeah,
recommend?
I have not. If that happens, I mean, I wouldn't even know what to do for them other than to tell them, you know, I would certainly help them to eat a balanced, you know, well-balanced diet that might be a little bit calorie dense, a little bit more calorie dense than I might otherwise explain or uh, advise, because they need the calories to get their body weight up.
Yeah.
But I've not had that. So my clients typically come to me before they have to start that medication. Before they're at their wits' end, and their next step is going to be
Yeah.
GLP-1 medication if this doesn't work.
So I have a
So
question, and I think this is something that I'm like, what's the question? When we're talking to people about, you're talking about calorie dense, eating foods that are calorie dense, actually refeeding and refueling the body with someone who has the mindset of like, I can't do this. Um, I I know that this is in your own like health journey, the thought of like eating more. And Leah's not been on that other side, but I know that that's been a bump up against of like, oh, I can't feed myself more. I can't. How would you in in your own journey, how would you talk about the refeeding yourself and calorie dense foods and
Are you talking about recently?
yeah, just
Oh, okay.
in your recent journey of like you didn't get to the place of like now I'm grotesquely thin or I'm beyond health, but in an actual I guess what I'm so many questions. What I'm saying is how do we help a person? How do we suggest to a person who already has this thought of like, oh my gosh, food means fat, food means I'm gonna be this big, I don't want to be here, teaching them that food is actually healthy. How do you move past that in your own mind for your own self? How do you move past that for your own self for health?
Um,
Even if it means putting on a few pounds.
yeah. I think it can be a real struggle just because so I was very disconnected from my body most of my life. And then I tried fasting for like 24 hours and that kind of reset. Oh, I feel hungry and I feel this and I feel that. But then I took fasting because I'm an extremist that way. I took fasting to the other end of like, okay, I can just do like these warrior fasts or I got so much into fasting you know, a few times a week or the 16/8, just different types. I had trained my body to rarely want food. So it was crashing my energy and I was maintaining weight until, you know, the last 2 years, I just had a lot of stress in my life and a lot of things changes. My eating didn't change, my activity didn't change, but my stress went super high and my body was changing, you know, starting into perimenopause and stuff. So it was really, really tough for me to um, look at like it was frustrating because I'm like, why are my clothes not fitting? I'm doing all the right things. I'm eating healthy. I'm active. I'm checking all these boxes, but I was undernourished for the activity I was doing. And seeing Deborah, the live blood lady, really helped me understand what was happening. Like my energy wasn't stable. Like I'd have these big crashes in the afternoon, but I wasn't eating enough to sustain the activity. So one, I had to trust her in what she was saying to me, and that it was okay to eat more. The first few weeks was really challenging just because I'm already in a place of like I don't want to gain more weight, and food feels dangerous and feel like it feels like it's just going to add to my problem. But then I started feeling better. Um, I just started feeling better and I didn't feel as um I don't know what you call it, like
depleted.
yeah, depleted. Yeah. I just I felt better and my energy felt I just felt better. And so that helped me trust. And then I started remembering what it was to be hungry again. Because I was in that place of like, I'm not going to eat breakfast. I'm not going to eat here because I'm not hungry. Like, but I had just taken fasting to an extreme, I think. And I just never felt hungry. So I thought I was listening to my body, but I had trained my body not to want anything as well. So that took some time for
Yeah.
sure.
When you worked with her, did you lose weight though? When you started eating the way she told you to eat, did you maintain the weight that you were at?
I'm still the same. Um, but I think that's just part of where I'm at right now. And that hasn't really changed.
Well, and it's not real, we're not seeing, it's not really about weight loss. It's just about rebuilding health so the body can do what it naturally knows how to do, like, create
Yeah,
GLP-1.
I have to get
But
out of
also
that thinking, right? Like,
repairing your relationship with food also. I mean, that you were down the road of disordered eating. I mean, that was an eating disorder in process right there, what you're talking about. And disconnect. I think that when you said you were disconnected from your body, I think that's a really perfect kind of description of what you were dealing with
but I
because
thought
you
I was listening to my body because like we're taught you got to eat these certain meals certain times a day and blah 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 and I just ate when I was hungry, but I was rarely hungry and I didn't even remember what it felt like to be like stomach growls and all that stuff. But now that I eat regularly, like now I know when I need to eat. I'm like there needs to be food here or like the
Well,
digestive
and
dance.
variety. Like
Yeah,
now you've
variety.
increased a variety so there's all different kinds of nutrients instead of just some coming from the few things you were having. And
Yeah, I was very limited in what I ate because I only ate maybe once or twice a day and it was always the same things.
yeah. So you were
Yeah.
only getting that set of nutrients and not the rest of what you needed.
Yeah.
And but now that you were eating more variety and sounds like a healthier you're following a healthier pattern. Do you find that your energy level is where it needs to be? And
Like I feel better. Yeah, my energy is much better and I feel stronger. I haven't gained weight, I haven't lost weight. Like I'm kind of like at this plateau still, but I'm eating far more variety and more regularly and more volume.
yeah,
It feels good.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And your body's going to find its right weight. Not everybody needs to be 110 pounds. You
right,
know,
right.
5'10". It's just not. Uh, you will find your body if you are giving it the nutrients that it needs, and it is being uh, well cared for, and you're giving it enough sleep, and you're giving it enough hydration, and all the stuff, managing your stress, and then of course, well, perimenopause does add a complication to it also.
Yeah,
Sure.
But if
it definitely makes things more interesting.
it sure does, it sure does. Just you wait, Leah. When you're on the other side of that, you'll look back. But but when you're giving it all the things that it needs, it's going to find its equilibrium. It's going to find its place. It's going to find its right weight. Okay,
Yeah.
not you don't have to fit into a box,
Yeah.
in a particular box. So I think that was a wise decision that you made that you were gonna that you spoke with somebody who could help you
Mhm.
and gave you the gave told you that eating the right foods is going to get you where you needed to go and you trusted her. And
Yeah.
I think that you're going to find, and if what you, I mean, I've seen your videos. I don't think you don't look overweight to me at all. So I think that maybe this is your right weight. You know, you're not, you're not 20 years younger than you are now. I mean, you are what you are. You're entering, your body's in transition. It's
Mhm.
going to continue to be in transition. The weight will look different on you as you age. It does look different. You've had 4 children. That has an impact. You've given
It's
life four
such a
times.
stark change, like in the last, because it's just been in the last 2 years. And I remember like, I feel like I could remember the weekend it happened. It was like last March. Yeah. That's what it felt like. Like all of a sudden my clothes didn't fit. I was like, what is going on here? And
Well,
it's
But
fine.
also,
I
but also,
it that way.
if 2 years ago is when your life started transitioning, I mean that had an impact, right? I mean all of the things that have gone on in your life. Um, that certainly has an impact because that increases or decreases your stress level. If you've moved into a more comfortable situation versus what you might have otherwise been in, or there are a number of things that can impact your body's ability to regulate your weight.
Well, and I think part of it too is like in the last 2 years, rest has been something that's actually been prioritized and encouraged and
Somewhat sneakily.
Wonder where that's coming from.
strongly imposed, but in good ways.
Yes.
I feel like I was in very much a survival, minimalist,
Well,
like
and we've all been
shrinking,
there.
yeah,
Of course.
type of
Absolutely.
life before. And in this season, it's been more about rest and rejuvenation and like just, I feel almost like a detoxing.
Mhm.
You know, I didn't experience that stuff in that space because I was just in survival, but now I feel more safe. So like my body's just kind of recalibrating is how I'm trying to
It's
look.
also releasing. Your body's releasing, right? So give yourself a chance. I think that, and then perimenopause, don't underestimate its value in here in this equation. But your body will find its place in the world,
Yeah,
whatever that is supposed to be.
for sure.
So what I'm hearing is we're actually kind of making a full circle to what we started talking about in the first place, which is trust,
Yes.
like and humanness. Like we're down here to have a human experience, and there's a lot of things that get thrown at us emotionally, spiritually, mentally, physically, environmentally, like, and it's learning how to listen to ourselves and to be like, okay, this thing isn't that's going on isn't actually supernatural or normal for my body. And it's about seeking assistance without completely relying on the person or the system or the product that you're going to
Yeah.
that
Well, maintaining your autonomy, right?
that
You get the help from the people who know better than you do, or know more than you do, or have more experience than you do. But ultimately, the decision is yours,
that
and
piece
the
right
autonomy
there
remains yours.
is remain, yeah, because you can hear, like, we went to an appointment, and they wanted to weigh us and do all the things, and I just said no, no,
Good.
you don't need my weight, especially for the reasons that I was there. I'm like, you don't need my weight. It is not a factor of my personal health. I know that for myself. And luckily this beautiful soul didn't push back.
Good.
And Leah's like, you can do that? I'm
Yeah,
like, yeah,
totally.
you can.
Isn't that funny though? I mean,
Well,
somebody in a white coat has all the authority, right?
Right.
they may have more education on some things, but they're not an authority on your
No,
body.
on you personally, yes, that's right.
And
That's
so you can hear what they have. I guess this is me just saying you can hear what they have to say, and validating what you just said. And then you get to make the decision, gather the information, and then make some decisions. But you got to go inside to make those decisions. And I love that we have products that that can, I like that you use the word activate, that can help activate what our bodies do naturally.
yeah.
Instead, I mean, like you say, sometimes we've got to have the medication or the thing that overrides. I'm like, that was tender. um I have an ally on my leg and it just got bumped.
Ooh, ooh.
It just makes me want to tell the story, but we'll wait till after.
We can tell the story, but the again, it's about having assistance versus reliance.
Yes, exactly. Yes. So giving your, like if you have a broken leg, you need a crutch, right? You
Yeah,
need a
that's
crutch
probably a
until it's,
cast.
yes, and yes, until it's healed. And then when it's healed, then you rehab your way out of that use for the use of the crutch and the cast. Same with these products. It's the activation. You want to activate your own body's ability to do the job that it's meant to do, and then you don't need to rely on the crutch all
Yeah.
anymore.
It made me think of, as you were saying that, like a car battery that's a little low on its energy, and it's not got enough juice to like start the car so it can do its own processes, and it needs a jump start. Like this stuff, this is how I see this stuff. It's a jump start. to what is already natural to your system and your divine nature.
Exactly.
And it's not our job to override our divine nature, but sometimes it does need a little bit of a boost, in my opinion.
Oh, we've knocked it down. Excuse me. We've, with all of the foods or the Franken foods that we have on the market, and that's not my term. I think it was Dr. Mark Hyman said
I
that.
love I've heard that only one other time. I kind of forgot it was out there.
Yeah. But the ultra processed foods that are chemicals that our body doesn't recognize as food and doesn't know what to do with. And so it holds it in our adipose tissue, and then we can't get rid of it. Our fat tissue, we can't get rid of it. So we've built this monster of an obese body, but we have the ability to get rid of it. And the way we do that is by implementing the tools that are available to get us started, get our body started to do the job that it's meant to do.
I love it. Do you want to just say that?
Yeah. I always love talking to you, Karen, because you're very like just real, down to earth, and no nonsense. But I'd love to share with people how they can get a hold of you and how what's your process that way.
So I offer a free consultation to anybody who would like it. They just have to go on my calendar, which is at www.yourpoweryourhealth.com/book.
You have that information, right?
Yeah.
/book.
I say it too fast. I live in New Jersey. I talk fast.
Yeah.
They can also buy my book. So my book has, I would say, a plethora of information in it. That's called Crush Cravings.
I've read it. I would agree.
Thank you. Crush Cravings Before Diabetes Crushes You is the name of that book. And you can get that on Amazon. And I also have, if you're not sure, if you're not sure where you stand on the whole sugar addiction thing, I have a sugar addiction quiz that you can access. It's a free quiz. You take this, and then you'll get once you fill it out and you submit it, you'll get the response. You'll find out where you are on the sugar addiction scale.
I love it. Wait a second. Don't you also offer, I'm trying to remember like what client has what. Don't you also offer a freebie on like mocktails, or you have like a little
mocktails, no, a recipe book.
Recipe
the
book.
recipe
That.
book. Yeah.
That. I have also perused through that.
It's quite extensive, I think, right? I think that's what I have. I think that's all I have right now.
Well, and Karen, you can also find her on TikTok as the Sugar Freedom Coach.
Right, her daily minute.
Yes, the daily morning minute. Those are very, very short, sweet, to the point tidbits.
And at 6 o'clock in the morning, that's all you get from me.
Right. And if you just want your little bit of Karen every day, there you go.
Yep.
Right.
But you can also find her on Facebook and Instagram as well.
YouTube.
Facebook and YouTube. So she has her podcast on Facebook, but also you can see them all on YouTube at the Sugar Freedom Coach. I think we covered all the bases there.
I love it. And just to plug a little more of what we do, we help you live a life. Like we also offer coaching in regards to play and health in general, and teaching you how to trust yourself so that you can live a more full, happy, productive life. We also assist people in writing their books through creative unraveling, and assist you through the unraveling process. You talk about that.
Can I just interject there before you go? I have to say that this team right here is the best in the business when it comes to helping with the writing and the editing. So these are the women that you want to deal with.
Thank you. We love our clients. We love working with heart-centered people and people who really just have a message of, it's like down to earth, it's honest, it's actually helpful, and they mean well in the world. And it's not just about dollars. They mean well and want to take care of people. So we love helping our clients that way. So thank you, Karen.
Yeah, no, you guys are the best. You absolutely are the best. So go ahead, Leah. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
That's okay. No, No, I love it. And it's very much about just sharing your story and it's not just about bringing your story to life, but it's about bringing people to life. That's one of my favorite things of doing this work is watching people come alive. Just you sharing today, Karen, your confidence in figuring out what you wanted to do when you grew up. I think that's the kind of people we work with.
I
Love.
absolutely love that you brought that
Yeah.
question and that statement back into this conversation. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I think that's it. So we will make sure that in the comments that you know how to get a hold of Karen, that you know how to get a hold of us, and in the show notes. Yes, we're now doing show notes. We're growing up in the world ourselves. Um, make it a little easier for you to get in contact with us. We just say thank you for your time, Karen. Thank you for your story, for your journey, your education, and how you share that out into the world. And to those of you who are looking for a little assistance and information on how to come home to yourself and how to unravel this story of yours, feel free to reach out. Thank you for your time, for sharing it with us, and we look forward to playing with you again soon. And until then, be bold,
Be courageous.
be a rebel. We'll see you soon.